in a world where equality is just another euphemism for mediocrity, where participation is more highly valued than achievement, where just enough to get by is the new standard of excellence. There is a small minority of people who fight back against such apathy, who struggle daily to reach new heights. These brave few are the hope for the future, the bright shining light for the next generation. They are the ones who will lead us to the places we have never dreamed of, to the undiscovered country, to reach goals only a few can even begin to imagine. Unfortunately, none of those people could be here tonight, so kick back and relax. Prepare yourself for several hours of fun, friendship, fascinating conversation, and fabulous music. All those F's, that's an alliteration and kind of a radio trick. Speaking of radio, you're listening to the most popular radio station in the history of broadcast radio, at least among stations that originate from Chris's living room. It's Curious Times. Your host is Curious Listener. Here she is, Chris.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Curious Times. It's Thursday, January 5th. And that was funny, Dan, when I read that. I was like, you want to try again? And so anyway, I can't begin to understand what the problem could. You guys trying to have a baby or what? No, I want to listen. Okay. And don't be embarrassed, for heaven's sake. Send me a private message on what product, what make and model of the headset you got, and what computer operating system. So Windows 10 or whatever, and then the name and model or whatever, name, rank, and serial number of your effing headphone thing. And I'll try and Google it and find the instruction manual. Okay. Hello, everybody. Amy's here, and she's got archetypes on her mind tonight. And anybody should feel free to call in and talk about this with us. And that would be good. Have a little round table, maybe, where Amy doesn't have to do all the heavy lifting, And so anyway, Amy is a Reiki practitioner. She's a mermaid and the world's only heaventologist. She assists where she can to help assure. She's kind of like, I told her she should become a death coach, call herself a death coach. And she assists where she can to help assure that death is dignified, peaceful, and, oh, typo, dang, sacred. I have to redo the whole thing because I can't just... Okay, and sacred experience and help survivors heal and develop meaningful and ongoing relations with the departed. You can check out Amy's Facebook page at www.facebook.com/Amy, as in A-M-Y, R, as in R, and maid, M-A-I-D. It's sort of like a punny way to spell a mermaid, right? And so anyway, Amy R. Maid, or a funny way of spelling a mermaid. So here comes Amy. Hello, Amy. How are you?
I'm good.
I heard your first few words and then you went,
Okay, I don't have my headphones on because I don't see them right here. So,
okay.
I wanted to tell you. What?
Your sound is good.
Okay. If it stops being good, we'll play some music and I'll either call in on the phone or get up and find my headphones. So it's funny. So I had to do a Skype interview for this job today, right? So it was like, oh no, I can't lay down because they don't have sofas at work. Field jobs. So I had to sit upright. It was kind of funny, but it's this job that I really want. But it's in Indianapolis. It was funny because on my LinkedIn page, after, I lost my real job back in February. I can't believe it's almost been a year. I didn't want our industry is kind of small and like every industry, gossipy and things like that. So I didn't want everybody like looking to see where I was going or anything like that. So I put in my LinkedIn page that I was a mermaid, and then I forgot. Like it was just like last week, I was like, this isn't working anymore. This entrepreneurial thing. So I scrambled to put a resume together and stuff, and I kind of forgot about my LinkedIn page. And the thing about LinkedIn, unlike Facebook, like if you go to someone's LinkedIn page, they get like in their daily report, it tells them everyone who looked at their page. So the guy was like, oh, I see you looked at my LinkedIn page. And I said, yeah, I did. So I presume since I looked at yours, you looked at mine and you saw that I'm a mermaid.
Uh-oh.
But I think he thought it was kind of funny. So that was a good sign. So everybody who prays, pray for me that this works out for the highest good, because one of the best things it has is it's got a pension plan, not like a 401k save, where you just get your account balance, which at my age would be enough to eat cat food for like 2 months. It's like a real pension plan, like you get a pension. So if I go there and like work for 10 years, I'll have a real retirement, just like, even though
usually with most pension plans here, anyways, you're vested after 5 years.
Yeah, but you also accrue. I'm in the pension industry. Believe it or not, I'm not just a heaventologist. So there's vesting, but there's also like the accrued benefit. So even if you were there for 5 years, they're not, if you're going to get like 40% of your salary, they're not going to give you 40% of your salary, even if you've only been there for 5.
Oh, so here it works.
You usually get like a certain percentage per year of service.
Okay, it might be different then, because here we work on contributions, and so if I were to go and let's say leave before the first 5 years, I would get out 100% of my contribution, but none of the employer's contribution. And if I'm vested fully, then I get, and then I leave at any time after the 5 years. I can either choose to leave my money in, including my contribution and the employer's contribution, and let it sit there until a retirement age, at which time I'll draw my pension, or I could decide to withdraw it all, including the employer's contribution, and then either reinvest it or pay taxes on it or do whatever at that point.
Right, exactly. Because then, because you just have to think of like the time weighted value of money. But it's very rare to have I just found this job. I applied for it like on Christmas Day or something like that. And it's just bizarre that it moved along so quickly. It's also bizarre that it's in Indianapolis. I've never even been to Indiana, even though it borders Kentucky. And if I took a wrong turn at the airport, which I usually take wrong turns, you would be in Indiana. But for some reason, I've never taken a wrong turn. So I've never been to Indiana. But enough about me, the most overexposed person.
So how did you feel? How did you feel after the interview?
Very, it far exceeded my expectations. And and my background, is perfect for the position. And unfortunately, the guy who was interviewing me, he had more jobs than I had. So I didn't have to explain why I had because people who stay at one job have a lot of judgment about people who job hop.
Will you have to report to an actual office every day?
Yeah, but it'll be really, and I found this apartment in downtown Indianapolis, 2 blocks from the office that has, it's on a canal and it has gondola rides and it has a saltwater pool and a tanning bed.
Wow.
So,
awesome.
It's just bizarre. And it's like 2 hours from my, 2 hours from my grandson.
Awesome. That's great. Well, good luck. Everybody will put their
we'll see. It still has to go through, channels. But they knew my salary requirements. and still interviewed me. And I'm really one of the few people in the country with the kind of background that they need. So maybe things are
Cool.
it would be kind of fun to have. I mean, I'm sure you must think that too. It'd be, I've been working remotely for 10 years, but like 10 years ago, I got breast cancer, then Keith got sick, so I've basically been laying down for, 11 years.
I've been sitting.
Yeah.
But yeah.
For 11 years, questionable hygiene habits for, 11 fun-filled years. So it would be really interesting. It'd be a big change, and it would be a huge amount of responsibility. But, sometimes things work out. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. But, so we'll see about that. But tonight, since my sidekick Jen is not here, she's out doing her activism. And, I've probably given everybody readings that's in the room. I thought we would do something different. And I had been talking about these because I go to this Course in Miracles group that like a psychotherapist runs. So it's like facilitated. So it's kind of a hybrid between therapy and, church. So, I was taught, and in Course in Miracles talks about that there's only two things, and the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is fear. And that you have to forgive everybody. It was supposedly a channeled work. It came to this, Jewish psychiatrist, at Columbia University. It was supposed to be like a correction. It was supposed to be Jesus channeled through this woman to like correct Christianity. But anyway, what we always get in these discussions, do we have to, well, I'm the only Donald Trump supporter in the group, but everybody else wants to know, do we have to forgive Donald Trump? Do we have to forgive Hitler? Do we have to forgive Charles Manson? Do we have to forgive that, Dylan Roof guy that, do we have to, forgive? It's real easy to forgive like small children and puppies and stuff like that. But do we have to forgive the yucky people? And like you've talked about before so often, and we've talked about, when we get into this concept of soul contracts and stuff, it's like, wow, what a humanitarian to come down here and be Son of Sam or, Ted Bundy or, the real yucky, be one of the, or Donald Trump, what a, or, just all the yucky people, But, what a, if you do subscribe to that school of thought or some subset of that school of thought, where we choose to, we choose to be these things. It's not like assigned to us as some sort of punishment. But, that there are basic archetypal, wait, can someone say that word for me?
Archetypical. I would say
personality traits. And that, so that there's only like so many, well, everyone's a little bit different. If you look at it, if you kind of break it down and label it and make, engage in, judgment, that's the great thing about archetypes is you can be really judgmental. So basically, people have talked about archetypes since like Plato and, Carl Jung talked a lot about them. And a lot of people talk a lot about them. And of course, Caroline Myss, who I never say her name right? M-Y-S-S, but I think you say it Myss, Caroline Myss. She's one of those Hay House, snake oil book selling, conference, attending snake oil ladies, but I actually really like her because she's kind of tough. You know, it's not all pretty. She makes it pretty, she gives it to you kind of right between the eyes. You don't get a lot of, fluff and mermaids and dolphins and, angel wings and things like that. She has done a lot of work as far as those. And then, of course, once you've written a whole bunch of books and things like that, the next thing you do is come out with some oracle cards, because you already sold them the books, you sold them the video, you sold them, they came to the conference. What else can they buy? And that next thing is, oracle cards. So she's got these, so it came up in A Course in Miracles. I'm not doing a good job of explaining this, because when we were talking about, you know, because it's part therapy and part, whatever discussion, people are always talking about people that they hate, their ex-husband, you know, their kid that's a junkie, you know, their father that raped them, you know, whatever. There's a whole list of, people who are worthy of our, hate. And we all have them. So, I had just suggested to someone who was having a really hard time. Oh, you know, Charles Manson came up because, you know, he's in the hospital or whatever. And so, you know, somebody didn't want to forgive Charles Manson. No, it actually wasn't that. It was actually a real, someone in this person's real life, you know, a brick and mortar person in their life, not a news person or a celebrity. And I had just mentioned about these archetypes. And if you just look at some of the light qualities, you know, if you look at the flip side of, some of the darkest qualities of an individual, maybe you can work your way into some sort of greater understanding of that person. So, and she has 80 archetype cards. So we're not going to go through all 80 of them. But I'm going to, and basically you can kind of pick these out for your, you know, she has this whole book and you can, kind of pick out, the cards that apply to you, and sometimes it's tied to the zodiac. There's a whole bunch to it.
Would you agree, though? I wonder what the opinion is out there about, because we have our own self-perception, and then there's the way we really are, and the way we're perceived by the world, you know, and even indeed, there's ways that we're perceived perhaps professionally amongst our colleagues versus socially amongst our friends versus within the family. And so, like if we took 5 people that we knew, for example, you know what I mean, including ourselves, and let's say we take someone from work, someone from the family, someone from a group of friends or whatever, and then our own self, and we had to look at this list of 80 archetypes and the descriptors that came with it, we would probably all pick different archetypes for each person, yeah?
Well, maybe we should do that. Maybe we should pick someone, agree with someone, and,
pick Corrine since she's not here. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
We'll fall into it. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking of doing a famous person, but we'll go down the road a little bit further, and then we'll figure out how it's gonna
But how did we ascertain? Like I was online earlier today, and there was like an archetype test, you know, that you could take, and then there's a Jung test, and there's other archetype tests and things like this, and it, you know, kind of occurred to me that how, you know, I saw how the test results labeled me, and so that's even subjective in a way, because that's based on how I answered those questions, and sometimes we will, depending on what day it is or what kind of day you're having, you know what I mean? You might answer.
I know what we could do. That's interesting. Yeah. Exactly. And then there's also the presence of the test. The fact that you're taking a test is going to affect the, I have such a hard time.
It tagged me as like the innocent child, kind of thing. And I kind of laughed at that. While some of the characteristics definitely could describe me, when looking at some of the other archetypes, and they're listing a much smaller list of archetypes, the main archetypes or whatever. I could see how other people would choose a different archetype for label for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly for all the reasons that you said. But to start out here, there are 4 of these archetypes that according to Caroline, who, based her stuff on other people, but this is the world according to Caroline, there's 4 archetypes that everyone has, which is interesting. The child, which breaks down into, there's many different types of child. The victim, the saboteur, and the prostitute. So, which is interesting because at the end of the day, we're all selling something, aren't we? At the end of the day, we are all selling something and we can all be bought.
Yeah, sure.
So let's start with the child one is a little more complicated. So just to keep this moving and see what direction it goes in, because I spent most of the day preparing for the interview instead of the show. Let's start with the prostitute, since we're all a prostitute, right? The prostitute archetype engages lessons in the sale or negotiation of one's integrity or spirit due to fears of physical survival or for financial gain. We prostitute ourselves when we sell our bodies. Oh, yeah. What Deborah said, I've been drinking like a fish all day. No. Okay, we sell our bodies or minds for money, or when we compromise our morals and ethics for financial gain. That could include remaining in a marriage or job. Yeah. The prostitute activates the aspects of the unconscious that are related to seduction and control, and that render you as capable of buying a controlling interest in another person as you are of selling your own power. So we're all the hooker on a daily basis. We are all the hooker and we're all the John.
I must be giving it away for free then. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm kidding. I'm kind of kidding.
Yeah. It's like, so again, and it goes back to when will I get paid? When will I get laid? Once you become aware of that presence within you, the prostitute encircles you with a strong vibrational field that says, not for sale. The core learning of the prostitute is that self-esteem and self-respect make you impervious to selling out. In identifying this archetype, ask yourself, have I ever sold out to people or organizations that I didn't truly believe in? Have I ever remained in a situation that offered me financial protection because of a desire for financial security? Have I ever put another person in the position of compromising him or herself in order to gain power over the individual? From another perspective, have I ever offered help to another who was weakened by his or her prostitute archetype? Do I judge others because they continually compromise themselves? Have I ever myself been pulled into a circumstance that would require me to sell out my ethics, but then found myself strong enough to say no?
Yes.
So that's like the dark side. That's the dark side of the prostitute, right? That you do anything, that you'll do anything for money. But then there's a light side of it. There's a light side of it as well. So the point being that, any of these things we can use, them for our benefit, or we can use them to our detriment. For example, I mean, I know so many of us have a really hard time. But so many of us who are self-employed, I know we've talked before, that have a really hard time asking for money. We either give stuff away, or say, oh, you don't have to pay for that, or, oh, that's $5 when you spent 200 hours working on it. So, the light aspects, of the prostitute is that, they know their own worth. They know their own worth.
Right.
And that our self-esteem is not, the other thing is, if you've ever met, a prostitute, or, a topless dancer, someone who does something that we think is, whatever. Many of them, I mean, there's I don't want to get into the whole thing, because many prostitutes are part of human trafficking and all that kind of stuff. But let's just say someone who just decides, I'm going to be, the college student who doesn't have enough money for her tuition. So she just gets, I'm just going to go be a prostitute, that what she does, the light side of the prostitute archetype, is that what you do to survive is not a reflection of yourself, and, has, in a perfect world, would have no impact on your self-esteem or self-respect. You wouldn't be getting yourself, self-esteem or self-respect from your job. And I think a lot of us probably need to embrace our inner prostitute a little bit more, so that we can just stand there with our hand on our hip and say, yes, that will be $150. My standard rate is $75 an hour, or,
Yeah.
whatever it is, instead of oh, you can just pay me whatever you want, or, so many people who do this stuff, or, try to start making a living or supplement their income doing any of this healing work or readings or stuff like that. Very few people, we just see so much, we see all sorts of things. We see people like that, the Sandra Sneed, school, which I've seen other, I'm not picking on her. It just comes to mind because she was on the show, and says it comes up with this ridiculous hourly rate, like $600 or something like that, to use it, as a gate, to use it as a gatekeeper. Or it's $600, but then they discount, or then you could be sort of like the Ginsu knife school, I
remember
these people too, they go, well, I'm having a sale, I'm having a sale right now.
I remember when I took this life coaching program and all that, that's just part of it, right? And so that there's people that say that when you're charging not enough, then you're devaluing your service. And there's people out there that won't pay the rock bottom price because they don't feel like there's people that want to pay the higher price because in their mind somehow they feel they're getting a better service or a better product or a better reading.
Right.
Or a better
I went to the most expensive medium. I went to the most expensive medium I could find. Right. Exactly. Or then other people wanted.
So the whole part of the discussion is how does one arrive at, setting their price, and unfortunately for me, like the left hand, like the people who often are most in need of the life coaching are people that can't afford very much, and so like I'm not interested. My market is not like rich Hollywood people, right? And so of course, a rich Hollywood person would not look twice at a life coach that charges $25 an hour. You know what I'm saying? But the people that definitely need a lot of help out there, they can't even, they would struggle to come up with $25 an hour. So is the coaching, and so the mindset is that, the coaching isn't worth it if it's not $200 an hour or something, and that to me is ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly, and and it's interesting. And again, there's how the prostitute thing plays out in why we all have the prostitute archetype, because at some point in time, everything is.
That's another good example, Deb. Is that's it's the same, and so what's happening is that if you're truly feeling that your paintings are worth $200 for a little painting like this, your target market is never going to be people like me with very little money. And so your target market is rich people. On the other hand, I always say this, a fair day's pay for a fair day's work is a good place to start, especially if you're in a needing situation for finances. You know what I mean? If I had the ability to do art, I would be selling it for whatever I could get for it. I wouldn't give two shits what the fair market, because guess what? The market price is what will it sell for? And if nobody's buying it at $200, then the market won't bear that, or I'm targeting the wrong market. And so it's not unlike like a product like a painting versus like a reading or versus coaching or that kind of a thing, or even you as a music teacher, Deb. You know what I mean? And in a tough job market, you bargain, you negotiate. That, the lowest bid wins. The lowest bid wins. So anyway, sorry.
But then I also see things that okay. So looking at the actual prostitute card. Hold on. That isn't going to work. Never mind. The light attribute of the prostitute is it accentuates the challenge of surviving without negotiating the power of your spirit. So sometimes we have to do things like, sometimes we have to do things, life is kind of a series of compromises, and sometimes you may do, but how much are you going to, are you still going to be able to keep your spirit intact? The shadow side of it is that it places material considerations and security above self-empowerment. And I notice a lot of times what happens to me when I come in at some rock, and this is why I refuse to do I did one reading for money. And, I said, I'm not doing this ever again. Not ever again. I'm not doing this at this time.
Yeah.
because I see a lot of people who, and I'm not passing judgment. This is just what I didn't want to do readings because I needed money.
Right.
Because I just didn't feel, I just was not, mature enough in my apprenticeship on all this to do that. But, we see people do that. We see people do that. But when I'm talking about when I do freelance jobs for other things, for my career, and I price it real cheap, and then somehow or other, they keep asking for more and more and more. You think that, they're going to treat you fairly because you gave them such a cheap price. But they're not. If you price it too cheap, you're sending, and again, just this idea that energy follows thought, that if you price it too cheap, you're sending a message to the universe that you're not worthy. So the person on the other end of the transaction is kind of getting that,
well, and that's fine if you have a choice between other work but my thinking on this is that would I rather make, if I'm making nothing, okay, would I rather make $15 an hour or $0 an hour? You know what I mean?
No, there's a certain amount of negotiation that has to go on. I'm not saying that you always get top dollar, but you have to look when you're examining your prostitute, when you examine your prostitute archetype.
Yeah.
Are you pricing that, sexual act at $10 so you can go get your next bag of heroin? Or are you pricing that sexual act at $10 because this guy, is unemployed, and there can be many good reasons for discounting your price. But if you get too far over to the other side, you turn into the crack whore instead of the call girl.
Yeah.
But then on the other side, the call girl, that can be a little bit, it's a balancing act, it's a balancing act. And we all have this in us. If you're placing your material considerations and security above self-empowerment, that's more like being the crack whore instead of the high class, call girl. So, I just think it's important in your interactions, which we're all going to have, is just don't be a crack whore. That's my, the heaventologist's word of advice is don't be a crack hoe.
Yeah.
Which takes us perfectly to the next archetype that everyone has, which is the victim. Because if there's not a fair exchange, which we always hear about the fair exchange, and there's plenty of people with all this. This one guy I know, he's a grief counselor, and he's got his whole shtick down about the energetic exchange of money, and he can't, and he's dealing with a lot of widows, and a lot of times widows, since someone just died, they probably just lost half their income. They probably just had a whole bunch of expenses, right? So they're a group of people that are usually, you think of the widows having the big insurance policies, but, there's also the poor widow. So, but he's got his whole shtick down that his new way of grief and his healing work that he does will not work if you don't pay for it. Because of that energetic, there needs to be a fair exchange. And it just cracks me up to see him do it because it's just, he's over there on that high class, he's on the far extreme, taking the light attribute so far to the extreme, it's back to the dark, But that brings us to the next archetype that everyone has, which is the victim. To the victim, if there's not a fair exchange, there's going to be a victim. And how many times have we heard, how many times have we heard, a prostitution scam followed by the victim story, right? Like, well, I was doing, I was helping this person and, I did this and I did that, and somehow or other, there's always a victim.
Well, I remember a long time ago when I was young and really struggling financially, and it was wintertime and somebody needed a boost, and I gave them a boost, and it blew my whole electronic system in my vehicle, and off they went with their car running. Like,
right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but then so now we're not talking about people who are like, we're not talking about the psychology per se of, the victims, and there's people that make themselves
beyond the psychology. It's the fact that we all on any given day in any different circumstance can play one of these roles. It's really just the different role. Like, if we're going to assume that we're just in this theater of life, these are the different roles that you can get, in the great tragedy, the comedy, tragedy, drama of life. At every point in time, all of us do all of these, but some of us are better at some of them. That some of us rely on some of these more than others. And the victim is a great one. It's kind of funny because I hate victim. I was at breakfast once and somebody was trying to make me into a victim, and I said, stop it right now. I was like, I am not a victim. Like I was outraged that, because it seemed like such a powerless little thing, but I'll be a martyr any day. And then this woman who runs the Course in Miracles group said, well, what's really the difference between a victim and a martyr? And it was like, well, arrogance, like the victim is just poor me, and we hear so many of them over the years in the, calling into the shows and stuff. But the martyr, I'm like, you're too stupid and weak to take this on, so I'm going to take it on, right? Like, find me a cross, go hang me on a cross, or, cause like Jesus, he's a hardcore, martyr, not a victim, and we put up statues for martyrs, but for victims, we just, have a GoFundMe and then we forget about them.
If that, well, then we start blaming the victim half the time. I mean, and I'm talking about when there's a true victim, like let's say I'm walking down the street and I get beat the shit out of and raped or something like this, and especially back in the older, there would always blame the woman. Oh, look how she was dressed, or she shouldn't have been walking out alone, or that kind of thing, right?
Exactly. We seem to always like to find victim, people like to rescue victims to avoid doing, lots of times people try to find a whole bunch of victims to rescue instead of working on their own stuff. The card itself says,
there's that too.
The light attribute of the victim is that you, which like so many of us, become activists to prevent further victimization, either of yourself or of others similarly situated. But then the shadow attribute is that some people start playing the victim for positive feedback, and some people sort of become professional victims and forget when there's too much rescuing going on, cause and effect gets totally taken out of the equation.
Well, then there's fake victims, right? I'm dying of cancer and I don't have money for my wedding, and then somebody sends they have a big thing and they collect $80,000 and they never had cancer at all.
Oh my God, I know. I wish they would outlaw the GoFundMe, because somehow or other there's some hierarchy. Now everyone thinks, bad stuff's going to happen. You're born, some good stuff happens, some bad stuff happens.
You die.
Rinse, repeat, you die. Rinse, repeat, Yeah. But now every time something bad happens, and I mean, I do understand that people, don't live by their family. I mean, and sometimes it's warranted, but, every single time something happens, people are throwing up, GoFundMes, which if you just think of it, the GoFundMe as a metaphor for the rescuer of the victim, it totally removes cause and effect. So not only is there sort of and we've had this happen, as a group, we've had people come into our world and spin a story which may have been true or may have not been true, may have been exaggerated, may not have been exaggerated. Yeah, the cancer one gets me the most, because having had cancer and having had cancer before the GoFundMe was invented, and it's like, wait, can you have one for me now retroactively so that I can, it's like, oh, but they have cancer. It's like, yeah, but they don't have this, and I don't mean to sound cruel. I'm just pointing this out I'm being a little bit exaggerated just for the point of example. But it removes the professional victim has no motivation to create appropriate boundaries for themselves. Like, oh yeah, let shitty stuff happen because someone will just put up a GoFundMe for me. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't be, everyone has their own rules about money, and I think generosity, I try to be generous and things like that. But, when we're just looking from the archetype point of view, that, it's very easy to it's very easy to lapse into. So now they're in overtime. I've had so much going on. I really did want to watch the hockey game. So keep me posted if my country becomes a victim of those mean Canadians.
A GoFundMe just fine, not a GoFundMe page.
But just think of the GoFundMe mentality. I'm not saying that there's good ones and bad, and that we shouldn't collect money for people. And some of them are very, very kind and very, but then all of a sudden, there's the fake, like you said, there's the fake ones, and then the real one, and wow, it all spins recklessly out of control. But, the professional victim, while they certainly, and it kind of goes into empathy. We talk about empathy as if it's such a great thing, but there's also a dark, let's look at the archetype of the empath. The light attribute of the empath is that they don't live in a bubble. They live, considering the thoughts and feelings of others. But the dark attribute of the empath is they don't mind a freaking business. It's like, get out of my energy field, this is my, this is my crisis. This is, and empaths instead, and I'm, being a huge one myself, I've started to realize that it's my responsibility to have greater control over my empathy so that I don't, and because it all plays together, because I can go out and not be properly grounded and not be, and get too empathic, absorb too much of someone else's stuff. And then I can't do my own stuff. I'm suddenly like sick in bed because, I ate someone else's energy. So, sort of like the obligation of that, to find the right balance, again, going back to the prostitute one, which is much more fun, don't be a cracko. If you're an empath, mind your own bit, know that you're an empath. It's kind of like the peeping Tom, know that you're an empath and don't look into other people's energy, use the tools to, and if you do tend to be, a victim, or if you've got a victim in your life, because there's two ways of looking at these cards. The way that I got back involved in looking at them is I was trying to help a friend of mine, heal this situation with her ex-husband. I said, just look at his nastiest qualities and then just look at those archetype cards and then see the flip, the light quality of it. So if you tend to be a victim, if you have had more than one GoFundMe for yourself, take a look at developing better boundaries. So the same thing doesn't happen, so that you don't keep falling in the same hole.
Regardless of GoFundMe, so like, ask yourself this question, because I had the old aunt.
And again, I'm just using the GoFundMe as a metaphor.
No, I know, but like I had the old aunt that you could never, how's it going, Auntie? I got this, my cataracts, or my blah, and I'm not very good at all. And then, cataracts, pea bags on my cataracts, like iced peas, you know what I mean? And then after she got cancer, I never heard about her cataracts ever again. You know what I mean? And so so we all know people who, like, you can never, if you ask them how's it going, and it's never, I'm having a good, good, thanks, how are you? Instead of, blah, 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 and blah, blah. So, like, if your answer to that is always some sob story, then you're a victim, a professional.
Yeah, that's
victim.
my mom. My mom can't understand why my kids never call her. And I said, well, because Madison told me she can't call you because she gets off the phone and she wants to take a toaster bath. She gets off the phone and she can't do her work for the rest of the day because she just wants to sit in a corner and cry because you've made her feel so helpless. She's on the other side of the country. She's trying to live her life and, start her career, pay off her student loans and, do all those things. And then, she calls for what should be a 5-minute phone call. And then she spends 2 hours recovering from it because you're, so anyway, so then the next one.
And on the cataracts, what I mean to say is after her surgery and the cancer was gone, then, like, still I never heard of of course, when you're actively being treated for cancer and then that's going to be where all your focus is. But afterwards, it never became that, and it always became anytime, the first thing out of her mouth with new people is somehow finding a way to let them know that she had cancer. You know what I mean? And
oh yeah, and there's so many. I've seen so many. Having been cancer and around cancer patients, I used to go to these breast cancer support groups, And some of the people they would know every single word, they would know every single level of every single this and that and every single aspect. And all they did was talk about, and it's now been 10 years since my cancer surgery. And, there is a direct correlation between how much you leaned into I'm not saying avoid it, but how much you leaned into it and how much, and the people who got recurrences and the people who are dead. And I've noticed now 10 years down the line that a whole bunch of them, the ones that had every little detail of it, a lot of them are dead. A lot more of them are dead than the people who held it, So it's just about, with all of these, it's just about, it sounds like that's, like I said, this archetype stuff, there's an awful lot of judgment in it. But I just want to remind people that I'm speaking metaphorically and in the case of extreme examples just to get the point across. So the next archetype that everyone has is the saboteur.
Oh, yeah.
And the saboteur, it says this is the most difficult of all the archetypes to embrace because the name is associated with betrayal. Yet its purpose is not to sabotage you, but to help you learn the many ways that you undermine or betray yourself. How often do you set new plans in motion only to end up standing in your own way because of the fears that discredit those optimistic plans? The saboteur's fears are all related to low self-esteem that cause you to make the choices that block your own empowerment and success. As with the victim and the prostitute, to face this powerful archetype that we all possess, you must make it an ally. When you do, you find yourself that it calls your attention to the situations in which you're in danger of being sabotaged or sabotaging yourself. Once you learn to hear and heed these warnings, you can save yourself the untold grief of making the same mistakes over and over. When you ignore its promptings, the shadow saboteur manifests in the form of self-destructive behavior or a desire to undermine others. To learn how to become aware of the action of the saboteur within, ask yourself these questions. What fears have the most authority over me? What happens when a fear overtakes me? Do I allow people to speak for me? How conscious am I at the moment that I'm sabotaging myself? Am I able to recognize the saboteur in others? Will I be able to offer advice as to how to challenge one's saboteur? So the saboteur, in a lot of these, again, I wish that, I could keep up with, it's always a hoot when Amish is in the hood. So, what?
It's almost like these feed into each other. In other words, saboteur allows you to become a victim again, all over again. You know what I mean? And so I'm sure that there's different reasons for self-sabotage, right? Some might be
self-sabotage, and then we also do try to, and we also try to sabotage others.
And others.
The saboteur exposes fear and issues related to low self-esteem that cause you to make the choices that block your own empowerment and success. But then when you make it an ally, this is very similar to the concept of, embracing the dark night of the soul. It's all, at the end of the day, it's all the same stuff, you know. But the point is that, you know, well, the point is that the point is. So when you make the saboteur your ally, it's the same thing like we've talked about when people have ghosts or entities or something like that. If you treat it like a ghost, like a scary ghost, you know, then as opposed to, oh, there's just something here. Oh, hi, what do you want? What do you want? Not like, oh, it's a ghost. All sort of, you know, it's all just sort of the same thing. You just need to neutralize some of this stuff. When you make it an ally, you will find that it calls your attention to situations in which you're in danger of being sabotaged or sabotaging yourself. You know, a lot of times, especially with the woo-woo set, we never want to, we never want to heed those things that where we're in danger, especially if we're in danger at the hands of another person who's gonna, you know, take advantage of us or something. Because we don't want, and we're like, oh, I didn't want to be judgmental, you know, I didn't want to be judgmental, you know, or someone who, you know, if you're walking in a bad area and you see some, you know, you see some questionable looking characters that are up to no good. Well, I didn't want to walk away because I didn't want them to think I was racist or something like that. You know, it's like but at the same time, was that really it? Or were we really just trying to sabotage ourselves? I see this a lot in recovering addicts where, you know, they give up a very self-destructive way of life, but then find new things to self-destruct themselves with. You know, they just switch addictions. And we do that, you know, and I see it so often in relationships, which is why I'm not always so quick to. Well, Taco Bell has gotten really good. Taco Bell is now like the healthiest fast food there is. We just find new improved ways, perhaps more socially acceptable ways. But at the end of the day, you know, they might not be illegal. They might not be as dangerous, you know. Well, I mean, certainly if somebody stopped shooting heroin and then just, you know, got addicted to Haagen-Dazs ice cream or something like that, you'd be hard pressed to say to that person, no, you'd be better off to just go back to the heroin. But again, at an extreme example, I mean, I remember there was a point in my life when I went to AA, and we would go out after the AA meetings and drink like 500 cups of coffee at 11 o'clock at night. And I was up later with the coffee than I had been with you know, I went to AA because of cocaine, and I was up later with the coffee than I had ever been with the cocaine. I was like, I'd be better off, you know. Again, just extreme examples. Certainly if my future employer is listening, that was just a metaphoric example that someone told me, not a personal experience. But we all have these. That's why everyone has the saboteur in us. So, and while we certainly find subtle ways to sabotage other people, I don't think we're nearly as aggressive in our sabotage of others as we are on our own
Depends
success.
on your personality type, right? Like a Donald Trump kind of a guy would be very much aggressively sabotaging others, you know, and wouldn't be trying to necessarily be subtle about anything. He's not subtle about anything. And, like he takes great pleasure in squashing people like bugs. You know what I mean? He takes great pleasure in that.
I was going to try to get through this whole thing. At one point I was like, well, let's do Donald Trump's.
Yeah.
I mean, yes. There are people who are saboteur extraordinaires. You know, people who, you know, and there's people who, and I think the revenge seeker, you know, the revenge seeker is kind of a subset.
These are kind of like the sociopaths and things like this. You know what I mean? So there becomes, what I was trying to say a little bit earlier is that it seems like with each of these, there comes a psychological condition or whatever. You know, there could be an accompanying psychological, label or diagnosis with it. You know what I mean? And like so that a narcissist would. Let's look at a narcissist, forget a specific individual, but let's look at a narcissist and pick out which of these archetypes are probably predominant in them. Because if we all have all the archetypes, that's fine. But all of us also have a higher percentage of certain kinds of archetypes. You know what I mean?
Totally. And that's exactly it. You know, so we all have these, and then we haven't even gotten to the child one, because the child one gets really long because there's all these different child, you know, there's our inner child, there's our, the wounded child, and, you know, so many of us are still that wounded little child, you know, and for good reason. I'm not saying, you know, I know your dad raped you, suck it up, but, our wounded child holds memories. What? Go ahead.
My overall test result was this: 84% innocent child. I can't say that with a straight face. Naive, but a breath of new life and fresh ideas. 74% joker, lighthearted, sociable, and fun to be around. 72% magician, filled with intrigue, mysterious character who knows how to put on a show. 71% hero, strong and perseverant with boundless ambition. And 70% wise old man, 69% great father, 68% caregiver, 64% great mother. And, but my highest one was innocent child, which I would never choose.
That's
for myself.
Interesting. Well, the innocent child is okay. Here it talks about the test to take. She found a test online. And in a second, I'm going to start flipping through some of these cards, and we can just decide that since we all know each other, we'll just sort of have some fun with them. So here they talk about the wounded child, the abandoned and orphan child, the magical or innocent child, which we will now call the Chris, nature child, eternal child, dependent child. So, there's all of good. That'll be fun. That'll be fun to do. But, so now, I don't know, do you need a break or something? I've just been babbling.
Sure, let's do song break and let everybody go do the test if they want to. And,
why doesn't everybody play some music and we'll just talk about what different people came up with.
Sure. Whoops. Wait. It's going to start another song. Here.
Are you looking for a place to meet like-minded people? Perhaps you're a light worker looking for a safe place to share your thoughts and services. We've got a place for you. intuitalks.com. Join for free, post updates, blogs, create and join groups via website or radio or class package. The possibilities are endless. Join the all-spiritual, all-under-one-roof network, www.intuitalks.com. intuitalks.com.
So listen, I want to try something. Something just came to me to try. So I'm going to nominate two people, if that's okay with everybody, and I should be very careful who I pick. Because I'd like to pick Amish, but I don't know that I can trust her to do it seriously. But let me pick Popeye if you're willing, and Kathleen, are you listening? Are you paying attention, Kathleen? Okay, if I don't see an answer soon. I'd like Popeye and who else then? Okay, let's go Popeye and Corrine. Corrine, are you listening? Oh, there's Kathleen. So Kathleen and Popeye, click on that link. Now take that same test, except you're answering about me or for me, your perception of me. Okay? And I want to test perception versus self-perception versus other. I want to see what the results would be if somebody else answers that quiz about me. Okay? And then let us know what the results are if you're willing, you guys. Let me go get Amy. Quick shout out. Amy is our guest, of course, Amish comedian. Nice to see you kicking around these days. The artist formerly known as Christy. Dan the man is here. Deb in Calgary. Diane in Ontario. Kathleen Moore is here. Marie is not listening. You're not listening, Marie. Mary Margaret and Popeye. Kimber, who's here this Saturday. And Carol, Corrine, and Wildflower Wind. It'll be interesting if Carol shows up in the next few minutes. You know what I mean? Because I don't know where the hell Carol came from. And okay, let me get Amy back. Okay, so we're back. So while people
perfect.
are doing
And those were exactly the two people I was going to pick. So good job. But everyone else can do it too. We're just going to have those two people. But I think everyone can. You can't stop me from answering this again. Being Chris, let's all do it.
Everybody do Chris.
Let's gang up on Chris. Let's get our bully archetype on. And
USA 1. Shootout. Shoot. Oh, well, I guess they got
that must have just happened, huh?
Is that A&W? No, what cup is that? Why are you drinking that shit? Is it coffee?
It's iced tea. It's from Jersey Mike's Subs. I didn't have time to go get food. I use this stupid takeout service. It ends up being crazy expensive, but I don't have to get off the couch.
Oh my God, Amy. I wish I lived there. I would be your personal shopper, you know what I mean? And errand person. I don't think it's a lie though. Many things on the internet are a lie, but probably the United States won. Anyway, so where were we then? Before all these answers?
We're all taking the test. We're all putting ourselves in Chris's shoes and taking the test.
Okay, so we're not. Okay, so we're gonna here. Here, I'm gonna play this real quick then. No, I don't want to play it. Oh, I like that. Oh no, I don't want to play that one either. I can see. No, that's too long. Okay, Diane did it. Innocent child. That wise old man. Joker. So it's pretty close to my results. Innocent child came first. Who else did it? Amy.
I did. I got innocent child. Well, what is it? Like there's the persona and the archetype. Innocent child, great father, hero, magician. Then down at the innocent child,
For the persona came innocent child, both, yeah?
Innocent child, joker, wise old man, great father.
That's close. That's close. I'm not a hero in your books.
No.
And I'm a hero in my book.
But I couldn't make you a hero because that's my archetype. Where if I made you a hero, then you'd be making me a victim, and that ain't never happening. Because I don't victim.
So
I think that's a part of it too, is that our archetypes came into what we would let you be.
What you would let me be. And you turned me into a man. Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm just wondering, though, if every single one of these returns a freaking, innocent.
I know, it's starting to seem that way. Let's see if we can find someone that has a more unique personality than
boring old me.
Than us. Then see if we, because mine and my archetype ended up very similar when I did mine for myself. Was very similar to yours. Innocent child, which I gotta make sure I've got the right. Yeah, when I did mine, I was 81% innocent child, 75% joker, 69% hero, and 66% magician. But if I was just going to flip through all these cards and decide what I was, I would say I was like 81% magician. Or magician, wise, the magician, the wise old man, those kind of are how I see myself. Anybody else? Anybody else want to unmute and prevent the overexposed Amy from continuing to talk? Because I'm sick of my own voice.
Hello, anybody? I don't think we're going to get participation.
Where's Corrine? The second most exposed person on, how about Mary Margaret? Mary Margaret, did you take the test?
She didn't have her headset, eh?
Oh, here, Kathleen's coming. No microphone. Hang on. Do any of you ever feel like, Amish has never gotten an innocent child before. That I don't feel like an innocent child. I didn't even feel like an innocent child when I was a child. So
that's like I said, like that would be the last one I would choose for myself.
Oh, Mary Margaret called in?
Oh, push 1 on your phone, Mary Margaret. Push 1. Mary Margaret.
Hello.
Hello. Oh, hey, Kathleen. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I did the test for you, and I came up with, this is really interesting. I'm sorry I missed half of it. 85% innocent child. Your persona archetype is 86% innocent child. Full results was innocent child, joker. 85.5% innocent child, joker is 74.5. Hero 72.5, magician 71.5, wise old man 68.5. But these ones are blocked out though, so I don't know if those are.
Sounds pretty close to me, to what,
Caregiver, great mother, innocent child, wiz, caregiver, joker, overall match. Magician, awesome. Great father, hero. I didn't do it for me. No, I haven't done it for myself yet.
I'd be interested to know what that turns out to be.
Oh, okay. So you want me to go do it for me too?
Yeah, sure. That'd be good.
And Amish posted another test. She posted one of those like Facebook test ones.
Oh, yeah. I can't stand those Facebook ones. They really do. I've done and answered done it 5 different times.
Oh yeah, me too. Changed every answer and not
same result every time.
But
so I have to. How do I reset this? It keeps going back to the results already there.
Just click the link again. Just come back into the chat room and click the link again.
Okay.
Or hit the back button or something like that.
It's probably going to say I'm fucked up.
You are the fucked up kind of archetype.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Here we go. Very interesting topic tonight, Amy. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we'll visit it some more on, when I'm on and there's nothing to do, because I think it's fascinating.
It is. I was really interested in it. Okay. I'm slow compared to everybody else with this stuff.
That's okay. Take your time. Did Mary Margaret?
Oh God, sorry about that. Because I used this stupid Facebook one, and we got this ad. Okay, well, I got the astronaut. When I did what's her name's, I got the astronaut. But anyway, enough about me. We brought Kathleen on, so I wouldn't talk anymore. What did you get, Amish, on the Play Buzz one? Oh, the trickster.
Mary Margaret coming or no? Did you guys say she called in or?
I think that was fake news.
Oh, okay, fake news. Gotcha. You got to do our fact checking.
Yeah, I put it on Snopes, but it wasn't up there yet.
Put it on Snopes.
What fake news were we talking about?
That Mary Margaret had called in.
Oh, yeah. It's probably fake news.
Oh, and then Popeye has something interesting to say, but wait a minute. Chris, will you control the show for a minute? I need to self-mute because I'm sick of my voice.
What should I control? How can I control anything? I cannot control anything.
Popeye has some information.
Well, Popeye can call in then, yeah?
Can he call in?
Yeah, because it'd be better that way because it's a radio show.
Popeye, can you call in?
Call me now. 1-900.
We have to be honest on this test, right? Okay.
I know, right? Honest as you can, as ego allows, or because also it's self-perception, right? And like a lot of
I know.
The same way as other people see us, which is why I was expecting a pretty radically different answer. You know what I mean, from other people.
Right.
And so it kind of it kind of bastardizes it that everybody's results are very similar for me, you know?
Yeah.
Is Popeye calling or? I don't see him.
He said to give him a second. Yeah, there is. I noticed when I was taking the test, especially when I was taking these alternative tests that Amish put in, that I was some of them I know I answered 100% truthfully. Like the one about what your childhood was like. Do y'all remember that one? I answered honestly, like lonely. That was Mary Margaret can't do it. Okay.
Yeah.
And, but then I think some of them, I think I was honest about the past, but I don't know that I was as honest about the present. Like what I do now. I think I answered some of the current, like what I do in current situations, more like the person I want to be instead of what I really do. But I don't know.
Okay, so is that yours for you? Is that that must be a different test. Is that the Facebook test?
I never saw this test. Oh, this is the one that Amish just published. The last one I did, this one here. Hold on.
Dead air.
All right.
Popeye, just unmute yourself, okay, when you're ready. Because I always manage to unmute you and you're not.
Okay, I have the same as Chris's so far. I'm 82% innocent child for the self archetype for persona, 86 innocent child. Full results is innocent child, 82.5, Joker, hero, magician.
Yeah, all the same, similar. No?
Yeah.
We have to toss that result.
And it says great father, wise old man, caregiver. It's only by a few percentage. And I'm, then the persona overall was innocent child, joker, wise man, great father. So.
So I discard that as being a crappy test.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crappy.
Because we all know that I'm not the innocent child.
I'm definitely not.
Yeah, well, not 86% of you isn't, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder if we misunderstand the innocent child. Yeah, I don't even think being an innocent child is a good thing.
Yeah. Well,
it sounds like you're setting yourself up to be a victim, which is my greatest fear in life.
Right.
Right. That's what we all want to be, Amish.
But there's
just
something.
Because you say you are one doesn't mean you are one.
I'm a guilty child.
So anyway, the innocent child, while we wait for Popeye to call in with his revelation that was so important that I was willing to mute myself, the magical child, which is the magical / innocent child, sees the potential for sacred beauty in all things. That's not me. And embodies qualities of wisdom and courage in the face of difficult circumstances. We're epitomized by Anne Frank and Tiny Tim. I think not. We're gifted with the power of imagination and the belief that everything is possible. Yeah, because we all read The Secret. The shadow of the magical innocent child is an absence of the possibilities of miracles and the transformation of evil to good. Pessimism and depression, particularly when exploring dreams, often emerge from injured magical children, which we know were all injured magical innocent children whose dreams were once upon a time deemed foolish by cynical adults. The shadow may also manifest as belief that energy and action are not required, allowing one to retreat into fantasy. So basically, all these tests are telling us that we're all effed up. And I don't like it. I don't want to be, how do we stop being innocent children? I would rather be a, triple prostitute than this.
Yeah, me too.
On Frank and Tiny Tim. I'm pessimistic and depressed and not believe in magic.
I'm taking a personality test now that asks normal questions like, can you stand a messy place? And do you check your emails as soon as possible?
Does that tell you an archetype?
I'm not sure. I put that in and it says free personality test. Oh, it's personality test. Okay.
Yeah. Do you pick your nose in the car? Right. Do you?
Yeah.
What happens if you don't? Mess doesn't even bother me.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me at all.
Does that let me not be an innocent child? I know I don't want to be an innocent child.
Well, it didn't really ring true with me
Or a
as being a
dependent
child.
I don't mind being the eternal child. That's like Peter Pan. But I don't mind being nature child, but I don't want to be wounded child, dependent child, victim child, child hooker. Anyway, where's Popeye with his frickin' revelation?
Because it won't unmute.
Oh, he doesn't want to unmute.
I wonder if that's the same test. I found another one.
Oh, here's the eternal. Okay, the eternal child. Is that what we were talking about? No, the innocent child, wounded child. Here's all the children cards. Let's see. Find some way. There's got to be some child. The orphan child. Magical child. Anytime now, Popeye. You were the one that went on the grand experiment.
Can't seem to unmute myself. My phone shows not muted. It makes me think it might be something on the other end.
No, his phone is muted.
Who did he call in as? Oh, here he is. Oh, here.
Right there.
Try it now.
Out of line.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and the screen shows that I'm not muted anymore. Good. Well, it wasn't really all that cosmic of a thing.
Unmuting child. I'm unmuting child.
Okay. Well, it wasn't all that great a cosmic thing. I just thought since several people were going to go take this test that we ought to establish some sort of baseline. And so when I took it, I answered every question in the neutral. The, 3 out of 5 kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was even labeled as, quote, neutral. When I looked at the screen, I just went down and answered every question neutral. And then in the chat room, I posted my results. I still have them up here. Let me pop up this other tab. Okay, so with answering every question neutral, innocent child was 84%. Joker was 72. Hero was 71. Wise old man was 69. Caregiver 67. Great father 66. Magician 66. And great mother 63.
Yeah.
So, doesn't matter if you're neutral, it's all the same thing.
So that,
Pretty much.
That kind of gives me a baseline for what the test is doing, and compare your answers against those, and probably everybody's pretty damn close to each other.
Okay, so it's a fake test. Thanks, Chris, for bringing a fake test to my.
My pleasure. I'm always happy to help.
Because she's an innocent child.
Yeah,
It wants to help.
So the light attributes of children, because I guess we're all children, is which one? Eternal child, determination to remain young in body, mind, and spirit, ability to see things with fresh eyes, and the shadow is inability to grow up and be responsible. I think that's absolutely flipped. I think the light attribute would be inability to grow up and be responsible. The wounded child awakens compassion in the world and opens the learning path of forgiveness. And the shadow attribute is that it blames others. The orphan child conquers their fear of survival, but seeks inappropriate surrogate families, such as I think if we're any children, I think we're the orphan children, and we found this little inappropriate surrogate family called Curious Tots.
Well,
There's a nature child that like animals, and but they tend to abuse. Nature children love animals, but abuse people.
wow.
I don't like animals, so the magical child sees sacred beauty in all things, but tends to be a feminist. The eternal child, determined to remain forever young, but fails to be responsible. We know with the wounded child and the orphan child. Anyway. Does anybody else have it? I know we should just make up our own. We should make up our own archetypes. And actually, Jen Young, so I didn't really realize that we were doing that, but we made up our own. We made up our own. The cards, Deborah. The cards. Remember the fish wench. And, oh, la-di-da, so entertaining. But yeah, you can make up you make up your own. We could take every single, just take every single everybody is,
LaQuisha.
Everybody's a freaking, everyone's an oracle card. What are you, Corrine?
Anyways, what, I'm the fucking nutcase, Popeye?
No, just the nutcase.
Oh, you're talking about Bachelor number.
Corrine, you're the femme fatale.
Thank you.
Highlight the erotic energy of the feminine, and open your heart when your dependency is rejected.
Excellent.
Okay. And then here's one. I don't even know how to say this word. The dilettante. Is that a thing?
Dilettante.
What is that word?
Dilettante.
Okay. That they delight in the arts without having to be a professional.
Dan's sticking up for me.
Then we got all those children. We already went into the knights. Do we have any knights in the room? They're loyal, romantic, and chivalrous. Heath is the knight. But they have allegiance to a destructive ruler. Chris, yeah. Heath is the knight.
Yeah, that's me, the destructive.
With his allegiance to the destructive ruler. Do we have a judge that balances justice and compassion?
That's Chris.
Chris, offering only destructive criticism, misuses business, legal, or criminal authority.
Well, I wouldn't say she misuses.
Yeah,
that.
I don't think that. There's more.
I better not be the nose-picking whore.
Kathleen, what do you mean?
The detective, great power of observation and intuition, desires to seek out the truth. the shadow attributes is voyeurism and false news. That's Chris. You see, we're all this in any, that would be Chris. She brought the false test. The prince, the light attribute is romantic charm and potential for power. The shadow attribute is using power for self-aggrandizement. That's, be whoever you want. The gossip awakens consideration for the feelings of others and honors trust. Oh, here, let's see. Who could this be? The shadow attribute thrives on the power of passing on private or secret information and betrays confidences. The engineer, ability to give creative and practical expression, talent for designing resolution to common dilemmas. This could have been Popeye.
Right.
The artist, Deborah, expressing a dimension of life that's just beyond the five senses, but then they use their talent as an excuse to mistreat others and pose as a starving artist to elicit pity.
Oh, shit.
The Don Juan, that would be that guy. What, Dennis? Spotlight your positive, seductive qualities and uses the power of romantic attraction for private agendas. The hedonist.
Except he has no attraction.
We're still recording, so let's keep this light and theoretical and metaphorical.
Okay.
The hedonist inspires creative energy to embrace good things in life, celebrate the beauty in yourself. And the shadow attribute is you pursue pleasure to the detriment of your health and indulges at the expense of others.
Well, that's all me because I drink a lot of tequila and then I think I can dance. And that hurts others.
The liberator frees themselves from outmoded beliefs, but then imposes their tyranny.
All right, that's me too.
The shapeshifter, skilled at navigating through different levels of consciousness, but the shadow attribute is projecting an image that serves your personal agenda at the moment.
Totally.
The pioneer,
not me.
passion for doing what has never been done before. The attribute, the shadow is compulsive need to keep moving on. That's me. When I give my my billboard readings, but just keep moving. The athlete, the saboteur, we already talked about. The avenger, this is Chris, desires to balance the scales of justice, righteousness on behalf of society, but then they'll resort to violence in the name of a cause.
Mm. I have a fun game we could play sometime. We don't have to do it tonight because I know you're doing this, but.
Well, no, we're done. It's over. It's now, I'll close with the nun, because we all have a little nun in us. Selfless devotion and single-mindedness and dedication to spirit, with the shadow attribute being negative judgment of the physical world and excess piety.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely me at times, yeah.
That's me. So we're all in any given, you know what I mean, in any given, but the thing in closing, the thing that drew me back to these cards that I hadn't had out in a long time, and the cool thing was I found an angel-shaped purple plate that was in my box of cards, was that, you know, we on a daily basis, we've got a victim, a martyr, a trickster, an avenger, all these ruthless characters in our life. So if one's like if you're, as you know, I talk a lot about how much I dislike humans. But I found when I use these cards, like if I find the attribute, you know, there's someone like, I don't like I don't like, I don't like so and so because I just pulled a card here because they're a bully. To look at the light attributes of the bully, which is highlights your tendency to intimidate others and helps you confront your inner fears that bully. I don't even know what that one means, but anyway, you get the basic point, right? The end.
So how do you feel about this? Now, this is like all about, well, the archetypes are all about, well, sort of, finding out who you are and how well do other people know you was brought up. So why don't we do to tell the truth? And you, Chris, for instance, you would say a statement about yourself and we have to decide if it's true or false.
I can't come up with shit like that.
Oh, come on. I can.
Well, go for it then. Go for it.
Well, I mean, so who's going to play? I have to play. It has to be two of us at least playing.
I'll play until someone else plays.
Okay, so Amy, if you're going to come up with a statement about yourself and we're going to say true or false. And then obviously at the end of your 5 statements, we'll tally how many people really knew you. You know what I mean? That you actually did. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay. So go ahead, Amy. I'm going to try to think of, you can do one and then I'll do one because I know it's hard to think of stuff.
Okay. You know? I love romantic gestures.
Oh. Wow. All right.
I choked on a chocolate.
Sure.
I'm serious. I was choking on chocolate.
You're choking on a chocolate calling bullshit on that, or is it just...
No, I seriously was choking on a chocolate.
Oh my God, I'm sorry.
But I'm okay.
Okay, so who's keeping tally here? I say true to that.
I can keep tally.
Everyone else.
It's very, very false. It makes me ill.
Oh, okay. Well, you're not supposed to tell us to the end.
Oh, okay. Well then, okay. Carry on.
Okay. I once was a guest on a television show in Hollywood, and I stayed in Beverly Hills. They set me up in Beverly Hills. Is that true or false?
True.
True.
Oh. Wow, you guys are good.
We are playing with a bunch of psychics.
Okay, number 2 statement. I once climbed a volcano in Iceland.
Oh, you did go to Iceland.
True.
I'd have to say true.
What about you, Amy?
False.
Mm-hmm. False.
You're not supposed to tell us till the end.
Oh shit, that's right. Okay. All right.
I don't know if any of this works.
Right.
Okay, I've got one. I'm afraid of escalators.
Very true. Very true.
True.
False.
Probably afraid of elevators and doesn't mind this. Anyway, I say it's true.
That's it. It's true.
I say false.
Okay, so now...
Okay.
You're supposed to wait till the end, so I'm not telling you.
Oh, okay.
So what did we say? I'm going to write this in...
I've been keeping tabs.
Oh, you are? Okay, then I don't have to. Perfect. Okay, your turn, Corrine.
Okay. When I was 15, some of you guys might know these stories that I've told. Shit. Well, now I can't say that one. All right. When I was 15, I called the singer of U2 in Ireland and I talked to him.
True.
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 Okay, go ahead, Amy.
I did a shot of tequila with Courtney Love.
True.
True.
Oh. Oh.
Do I need to keep track of who's answering what? 'Cause I've just been...
Maybe Kathleen.
I don't even know what we're doing. Like, what's the end game here?
Well, just to see how well people know us, you know what I mean? Or who's a better liar, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When I was 14, I told my mother I wanted to go and be a nun. And she actually took me to a convent in a nearby town.
True.
Yeah, you're supposed to tell a lie every now and then, Corey. This isn't your auto-fucking biography, you know what I mean? Like, this is supposed to be you're supposed to stump.
Supposed to be challenging.
So, I didn't do nothing in my life.
So you guys said
false.
Well, that last statement was false for me. I didn't go to a nunnery.
Yeah, I was gonna say false. I was gonna say false on that one. That was too contrived.
This one I got arrested and charged with assault when I was a teenager against when I was like 14 against a 18 or 19-year-old
True.
chick, and I went to court for it.
True.
Wow.
True.
True because you're Canadian.
Because I'm Canadian. I didn't say I was at a hockey game. That would be a given.
You probably held up a sign that said, I was a little upset before you did it.
Yeah.
I say false.
I say true. What do you say, Amy?
Oh, I said true.
I say true.
Okay, so I have another one. When I was 30 years old, I had an affair with a 19-year-old boy.
False.
But define affair. Like affair means
yeah. I better be careful there.
Affair. You know, making out, fooling around.
Just say I had sex with them or I did whatever. Like what I'm saying is affair to me is like cheating behind someone's back. You know what I mean?
Well, that's true too.
Behind the kid's mother.
Oh, that's true. Oh, Corrine.
That's a tough one. True.
Now you got to say true.
Well, it is true, unfortunately.
Why?
I didn't have intercourse with this 19-year-old though. But anyway.
Must have been fun.
He's actually he's a fucking pot dealer. And I didn't even smoke.
Wow.
Anyways, whatever.
Sounds like it could have been a really fantastic weekend.
Well, if it didn't go on for 2 years, I would have said that, Kathleen. Whatever.
So it's true. I got it right.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I stopped taking tallies because I got lost.
Most of everything everyone said is true.
Okay, I have one.
Go ahead.
Okay. A lie. Bye.
Well, fuck. Okay, I guess because I was thinking of a really good one too, but it was definitely a lie.
See, now it's all mind games. Now it's like, now she's gonna think we're gonna guess true because she was gonna, so now she's gonna tell another lie.
Right.
I'm trying to think. I tried to hitchhike back to Canada after I moved to the United States.
No.
True.
Or she was a grown woman when she moved to.
Doesn't matter.
I'm saying false.
Amy?
Oh, false.
True. I got as far as Montana and turned around and came back to Ohio.
That was your last ditch effort to get the hell out.
It was. I got to Montana and some creepy guy with beady eyes scared me in the McDonald's, so I turned around and came back. True story.
I once made chocolate-covered ants. And they were the big black carpenter ants. Chocolate-covered carpenter ants.
The more detail they give, the bigger the lie. So
Oh, shit.
False.
You would have just left it at ants. I might have said true, but as soon as you added what kind of ants they were, I'm all like, no, that's a lie.
Here's one.
Right.
I just ate a whole box of chocolate-covered cherries. True or false?
True.
False. I have one left.
Oh, damn.
That is very lame. Very lame.
Fine. I'll eat it right now and then you
one.
have it right.
Tell a false one. I can't remember.
I have one for Dan. Dan, guess true or false? I am going to incorporate bacon in my supper tonight. You're not Dan, so you're wrong.
So much fun.
Dan's not even listening. That's it. I'm through with you, Dan. You're not listening even.
We still have to. How long do we have to play this game for?
We don't have to
done.
keep playing.
Let me just wrap the show too. So tomorrow, it's Selva. Selva is here. Kathleen, do you want to come and interview Selva?
Tomorrow night?
Yeah. Are you busy? Hey, if you're busy.
I think I'm busy tomorrow. I have a Skype reading at 8, so it might run over. I don't want to.
But Marie, she thinks she's going to wiggle away on that, you know? Marie. She really thinks she's going to fly under the radar on that. Okay.
I'll try to make it. I just don't want to.
No, I would want it. I would want it for when you do it. I want it to be a for sure. You know what I mean? Like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like a scheduled real thing. And so, okay. Deb, I think Deb in Calgary. What's your big chance? Huh? Your turn to play interviewer and interview Selva tomorrow night. So thank you, archive listeners. The rest of this is highly confidential and not for public consumption. And dinner plans. Yeah, okay. I believe the dinner plans, but for 3 years you've been getting a new headset, Marie. Okay? And okay. Amish comedian would.
That's another way to thank our listeners.
Why don't you come and do the interview for the first hour, Amish, tomorrow? interview Salva, the Australian Salva. I'll be drunk. Okay. Well, so will she. Okay. I don't do well with rejection, so I'm not asking anyone anymore. Okay, so we're back tomorrow with Salva and apparently me. And and so thank you for listening to us, and we'll be back. Okay,